Microphone wasn't on then, was it? And a very good morning to you. Welcome to Tuesday morning's United Kingdom Talk. Looks like it might be a bit of a quiet morning this morning. I think it's very few people with us this morning. But never mind, we are here and we're happy. Now, if it's just gone 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 7th of September 2010, you are watching and listening to the show live, one or the other, or even both. A warm welcome along. And indeed, you can join in live by using the Skype. We have Skype. My Skype in number is United Kingdom, or my Skype in name is United Kingdom Radio. Okay, you might want to add that one. United Kingdom Radio is the Skype in number. Or you can phone in as well. There's a phone in number, 020 3287 1488. Okay, that's the phone in number, 020 3287 1488. Now, whether you're watching live or watching or listening to a recording, you can still join in by email. And actually, we've nearly cleared the backlog of emails. This will happen today, I know it. After today, I shall have no more emails to read out, so do send a few in. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right. First of all, ITV has now started. ITV is one of the TV. Oh, by the way, thank you very much to Wayne for reminding me to hit the record button. It is appreciated, Wayne, although we're a little bit too early with that one. An hour and 10 minutes, you see. You would have told me that an hour and 10 minutes ago, which I do appreciate, but an hour and 10 minutes is an awful lot of time to remember to do something. All right? So could you possibly, next time you do that, do you mind waiting until sort of, dare I say, a minute to 11, something like that? I know, that's not very long to take, is it? A minute to 11 is a really good time for you to tell me to hit that record button. Thank you very much, Wayne, and a very good morning to you, sir. Yes, we have a new programme here on ITV1 in the mornings called Daybreak. Now, this is the kind of breakfast show. I remember the beginnings of breakfast show here in the UK years and years ago. The BBC were first out with that, I think 1983, with a TV programme called Breakfast Time. I've actually got the music here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. It's a nice little piece of music, actually. Let me see. Where's that going to be? TV? No. Beds. Maybe it's on. Let's see. BBC Breakfast Time. There it is. Used to have a little programme called Breakfast Time. Lovely tune, which I shall play for you in the background. And it had the most amazing graphics. Now, these are kind of pre-computer days, 1983. And what they'd done with a few coloured bits of paper and a film was quite amazing. It was like this little shape of a sun that used to flip over and turn around and do all sorts of things. The programme itself, the main presenters were Selena Scott and Frank Bough, and the whole thing gelled very, very well together. It was a really nice, easy-going watch, you know, and I miss that. Frank Bough was a very famous TV presenter here in the UK. He was for years host of the Saturday morning, the Saturday all-day programme Grandstand, which was like a sports-based programme. And he also hosted Nationwide, again, another sort of early evening magazine-type programme in the evening. He did that. I think he did one of the travel shows, possibly Holiday or something like that. I thought he was an excellent presenter. And I kind of miss him on the telly, especially first thing in the morning. If it was still Frank Bough and Selena Scott doing the BBC breakfast programme, then, you know, I think I'd probably record it in the morning. Thing is, with these breakfast shows, they kind of have, it's really only an hour's show, and every hour they repeat what they did in the last hour, but with extra little bits. So I suppose, I don't know, I mean, is it easy? Is it an easy job to sort of work on a breakfast show on the television? I mean, obviously it's all live, but once you've sorted that first hour out, you know, do you have to keep? There's not a lot else to do really, because they repeat it all in the next hour. Now, the BBC Breakfast Time programme was a bit like that, although they did have quite a lot of features that they used to throw in, and that was a bit different. But, you know, if it's sort of 6 o'clock it started and it finishes at 9, or finished at 9, and 6 to 7 there would be one show, and then they'd kind of repeat it, but it wouldn't be the same. Do you see what I mean? I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Anyway, so I do miss Frank Bough and Selena Scott in the morning. Nowadays, the BBC breakfast programme is much more news orientated. You know, it doesn't come across as a friendly person sitting on a settee talking to you. That's how I hope this show comes across, right? Me, a friend. I think I'm friendly. I'm not quite sure. I try and be friendly, boys and girls. I do try and be friendly. A friendly person sitting here and talking to you. The difference is, of course, you watch it at any time. I mean, I mentioned on the last show, there are actually very, very few people, strangely enough, who listen or watch the show live. By far, more people watch the show as a recording. Either a podcast, or on YouTube, or current TV, or something like that. It's strange, isn't it? I mean, when I say by far, I can sort of kind of look now and see how many people are watching or listening to the show, you know, while I'm doing it live. And we're looking at a handful here. Really a handful. And, like, you know, the people that download this, it will be 100 times more than are actually watching or listening live. And I never quite understand that. Maybe people are doing stuff at work. The other thing is, of course, it's very convenient, isn't it? And United Kingdom Talk is exclusive to United Kingdom Radio. And I do tell the other presenters on there, some who complain that not many people listen live, you must always, always remember the people who are listening or watching by recording. You know, when you give out the email address, and the email address for this show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. It's probably much more important than giving out the Skype details or the phone-in number. Because I like to have as many people join in as possible. And by that, an email can be sent any time, day or night, can't it? The other thing, and I've always said I'm not led by statistics at all. But now and again I look, and I was surprised to find, where do you think most people are that download this show? Where do you think they are? I bet America just came into your head, didn't it? Did it? Did you think Americans, there are more Americans watching the show than anyone else? You'd be wrong. America is in second position. Who do you think is in first position? Any idea? China. I know. China. I don't know if I can get that up to tell you sort of numbers. I should have done this before we came on today, because I'm not quite sure how the statistic things work, because I rarely look at them. Let's have a quick look. I think is it demographics where you can tell the different countries? Huh? I don't know. Let me have a quick look for you, and I'll tell you. Is it statistics? Yes, statistics. Click on that. September. Do I click on that? I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure. I know how to do this. So, oh, here we are. Top countries. Here we are. Top countries. All right. Let's have a look at that. Right. No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Actually, I'm wrong. It's changed. It's changed. Which country is the most that listens to this? Have you any idea where you think most people are that download this show? 35%, okay? 35.7% of all these shows that have ever been downloaded go to Singapore. Isn't that strange? So if you're in Singapore, what is it that attracts you to listening to this show? Please let me know on the email. Why are you listening or watching this show. Because you're in Singapore. And we never talk about it. I don't think I've ever mentioned even Singapore. And yet, more people there watch this show or listen to this show than anywhere else. So if you're in Singapore, why? What is it that attracts you? Are you learning English? I have a feeling you're learning English, and that's why. Let us know on the email, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Next highest listenership is in China. Hello to the Chinese. Whereabouts are you in China? Are you allowed to email into the show? Because I know there's certain restrictions there. If you are, write in and let us know why you listen, okay? Maybe you want to practice your English on me. All right? chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Third position is the United States of America. And in fourth position, way down actually, number-wise, is the United Kingdom. We're way down to everyone else. We really are. Okay? It's interesting though, isn't it? And it gives me other information like the top US markets and more people, the area that most people listen in the United States is Seattle. I don't remember getting an email from anyone in Seattle. So are you one of those people in Seattle? Why are you here? Why are you here? And why haven't you contributed by an email? chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Going back to that new programme on ITV, Breakfast Time, as I say, was the BBC one that started it off in 1983. This was quickly followed just a few weeks later by TVAM. Now, TVAM was ITV's answer to breakfast television. And there were 5 very famous, popular presenters that got together to host this. The only ones I can remember off the top of my head... Actually, let's have a look. TVAM, I'll tell you all of them. I had no intention of going down this road today, but you know how it is. We go off route sometimes, don't we? TVAM presenters. It was Anne Diamond. Got to be honest, not keen on her at all. Never really liked Anne Diamond. She came across as thinking she was better than everyone else. Not that she did. She may well not have been like that in real life. But that's how she came across on the television to me, thinking that she was better than everyone else. There was Wincy Willis. I mean, blonde bimbo comes to mind there. She was the girl who did the weather. Of course, she's a lot older now. She's in her 40s. But, you know, it was the old blonde hair and the 10 inches of makeup. Not my cup of tea, Wincy Willis. There was Nick Owen. He was all right. Quite laid back. Nice chap. Yeah, Nick Owen. He was all right. There was Mike Morris, who was like a sports person. Don't know what he's done since then. A lot of these people have disappeared. Okay? Oh, hang on a minute. These are not... No, hang on a minute. These are all the presenters they've put on. What were the original... No, this is wrong. Just a minute. I've got that wrong. Original TVAM presenters. They were known as the Famous 5. I don't know if we're going to find this now. Here we are. Oh, is this it here? There we go. Yeah, here we are. It was David Frost. David Frost, a very highly rated presenter. There was Anna Ford. Okay, she's like a newsreader. There was the wonderful Angela Rippon, who we love. Angela Rippon. You would want Angela Rippon to be your mum. She's fantastic. Really natural. And she's very clever. Very clever. We like Angela Rippon. There was... Oh, the Anne Diamond. I couldn't stand Anne Diamond. I think they're the original ones. Was there any more? Can't remember the others. They're the ones. They're the ones that kind of stick in my mind. And the company TVAM spent an absolute fortune on these people, and it just didn't work. You know, it's funny, isn't it, that a lot of, and this has happened in radio and television before, where very popular, famous people are brought together as a group, and it doesn't work. I hear it on the radio a lot, independent local radio all over the country. I don't know why, but they seem to insist on having two people on in the morning every morning, like a boy and a girl, who think everything is funny, and the falseness of it all, the absolute falseness of it all is unbelievable. It just sounds dreadful. What happens is the manager of somewhere sees, oh, I think these two people will get on, and they put them together, and it doesn't work. A good example of this is Tony Blackburn. Now, Tony Blackburn is my hero DJ. Absolutely my hero music radio DJ. Right? For years I listened to him on BBC Radio London, Radio 1, BBC London, and various other places. On his own, he's absolutely fantastic. I love him on his own. But sometimes there has been occasions where they've stuck a woman with him or someone else, and it doesn't work because he's such a huge personality. He doesn't need anyone else. So why do they force these people to take on another person on air? You only need one person talking to you at a time, not sort of a boy and a girl laughing all the time and trying to make things sound funny, which clearly aren't. Or maybe it's the way it's delivered, I don't know. Just sounds awful. TVAM didn't really work at that point. So I think they changed a lot of things around, and they bought in this thing called Roland Rat, which was basically a glove puppet. And it's the rat that actually turned round the company. Everyone loved Roland Rat. I mean, if you were one of those original 5 presenters, you must have been horrified that a glove puppet was more popular than you. Anyway, so that's by and by. And over the years, unfortunately, the BBC breakfast show is now more news orientated, and I always thought that was a shame. I quite liked Frank Bough and Selena Scott on the settee in the morning, you know, and it was all very casual. Now it's a little bit more sit up straight and ties and the rest of it, and I think that was it was a mistake for me. However, at this point in time, the BBC breakfast show does have about 800,000, I think, or what was the figure? Oh no, don't quote me on that. They do have quite a lot more viewers than the ITV breakfast show at the moment, which has just changed. On Monday it changed, and they have 2 new presenters. And do you know, I can't remember the name of the girl. Anyone remember the name of the girl? Can you Skype me in quickly and let me know? My Skype username is United Kingdom Radio, but the bloke's name is Adian Chiles. Maybe I can get that up. Daybreak presenters. I can't remember. Is it? What's her name? Pretty girl. She's very pretty. Right, very pretty. I've got text message come. Oh, it's all happening. It's all happening this morning, I tell you. Adrian Charles and Christine Bleakley. Funny name, isn't it? Adrian Charles and Christine Bleakley are the new presenters. Oh, good morning to Matt Hopkins, who just texts in, have Skype on the phone but haven't figured it out yet, how to use it yet. Oh, he's got the Skype application on his iPhone. I have to tell you, Matt has just got an iPhone. Oh, they're pouring in now, aren't they? They're pouring in now. Just a minute. Yeah. Oh, he's having a bit of problems with the visual today. Don't worry, Matt. Just go on to the audio, and don't worry about the visual. It does play up sometimes, the live video stream, but we're trying to change it. We're moving on to a different Ustream thing. Okay. Where was I now? Oh, yes. So we've got Adrian Charles and Christine Bleakley. And as I say, she's a pretty thing. She is a pretty thing. And their new breakfast show started on Monday. Now, I had to record this. So that I come on there and criticise it and tear it to pieces. First of all, the music. Now, the music to the new ITV daytime show, I'm sorry, don't rate it at all. It doesn't kind of bring you up. I think you need something in the morning to bring you up. You know, take that breakfast time tune I just played for you Okay, the old BBC Breakfast Time tune, which isn't 1,000. I mean, it is different to the tune they use now, but it's not a million miles away from it. Where are we now? Now, listen to. I mean, it says date. I'll play it again for you. I mean, it just says it's morning. You have a listen to the whole tune. You can imagine the sun rising here, or darkness, can't you, perhaps? Complete darkness. And it's just such a well-written piece of music. I don't know why they changed the music, but they don't use this one anymore, so it's 25 years old, this, so it's well out of copyright. I would have thought so anyway, otherwise I'm in trouble. Okay, you'd imagine that as the end of the night, and then suddenly the sun comes peering over a hill, and up it comes, and everything gets brighter and happier, and the day is with us. Do you see what I mean there? I mean, it signifies that it's the morning, and it is, in fact, breakfast time. And it worked. And I thought, I think theme musics to TV shows are very, very important. You know, I really do. They're not just a little bit of music that someone's thrown together at the beginning of a show. They are very, very important pieces of music. Take the National Lottery music, right? I mean, that's got to be exciting and powerful, hasn't it? All right? And it's got a big build-up to it, this National Lottery music. Again, this is not the music they use now, but the music they use now is still very, very similar to this. But you can hear the build-up in it, and it kind of goes mad halfway through, as you're about to hear. Here we go. See what I mean? Here we go. Yeah. Again, a piece of music that absolutely fits the show. It builds up and then comes to the crescendo at the end, where it erupts into marvellousness. It really does. We love it. We love it. But the music on ITV Daybreak does nothing. It doesn't build you up, and I think that's a big miss there. They need to look at that piece of music at the beginning, because it's nothing. Yeah, it's something that you'd have on in the background. You wouldn't be drawn towards it. The studio they've got is very, very nice, I've got to say. Behind them, they've got a huge window which looks out over onto London, and it's the most beautiful view. And of course, as the seasons change, the picture behind them will change as well, because they're looking out over London. If it's snowing, you would be able to see that. Now, whether or not they're actually sitting in front of a window, I don't know, because they can do all sorts of very clever things technically with stuff. They could be sitting in front of what's known as a green screen. I think it's a green screen or a blue screen, where there would be a camera outside somewhere, and the image of the camera is projected onto that screen. They could be in Manchester. you know, and just receiving that video feed from there being projected. I'm not quite sure. I'm sure they are. They are in London, in fact. Whether or not they're actually in front of a real window, I don't know. I don't know. The studio, quite neat. I like the way it's set out. Oh, what's her name? I still can't remember that woman's name again. I get her confused with Mylene, whatever her name is. I don't know. Have I still got it here? What's her name again? Oh, I don't know. Oh dear. Daybreak presenters. 1 minute. Adrian, Chiles and Christine Bleakley. I mean, it's not a name that kind of rolls off the tongue, is it? Christine Bleakley. Anyway, so she's sitting there, and the very beginning of the show, the very first show, I mean, it must have been nerves, but they really didn't look comfortable at all. They sort of had this nervous smile on them. They really did. She looked amazing. She looked absolutely amazing. She comes across as very friendly. I think the television people think that she comes across as something sexy. Well, she doesn't to me. She comes across as a friendly lady who I'd probably love to meet. Although I have to say, News of the World, I think it was News of the World the other day, did catch a picture. They took a picture of her coming out of a hairdresser looking as miserable as sin. Incidentally, I wonder if anyone's got any pictures of me looking miserable. Have you ever tried to take one of me in the street or anything like that? Because of course I get that all the time, you know, in supermarkets. It's very difficult to do it in shopping sometimes. People trying to grab you and all that because of your fame. You know how it is. Well, there we are. Anyway, so that's her. Him. Adrian Chiles. Never been a fan of his at all. Okay, there was all this hoo-ha about him leaving the BBC and this programme, The One Show, which is like a magazine programme. Not keen on it myself. I don't like the way it's thrown together. However, he was kind of the original presenter, and he was there for quite some time. And then the BBC wanted to change it on Fridays, and they would have another presenter hosting it on a Friday. Guy called Chris Evans, wonderfully talented person. Very, very talented, very funny, very natural. He comes across as one of those people that don't quite have to think. You know, he doesn't have to think what he's saying or doing. It just flows naturally. Right? So that's what he does. And he left he left the BBC to go to this daytime job. Now, why a lot of the papers think he's like, you know, God, so to speak. I don't understand it. Because he's on the telly, he doesn't come across to me as friendly. He is as miserable. He's got one of those faces that always looks miserable. I mean, I bet you know someone like that as well, don't you, eh? He's absolutely got one of these faces, and he looks as miserable as sin. He's always moaning about something, which is a shame, really, because occasionally he comes out with some little one-liners that are hilarious. He really did. And he did it yesterday on the Daybreak show yesterday. He came across, now and again, he'd come out with a one-liner which were hilarious. For example, and I thought it was a bit cruel, but very funny. They had this little boy on there. I think it was a little boy, and I can't remember now, was it? No, it might have been. Okay, let's change that again. They had a little boy or a little girl on there. You couldn't quite tell because they had a helmet on their head. And they had this, like, toy car. But it wasn't a toy car like £75 from Toys R Us. This was a toy car that would probably cost a few £1,000s. Lovely piece of kit. It's the sort of thing that you would have wanted as a child, young man. It would. And this little one got in there, and Adrian got down and said, he kind of helped the boy or the girl in. And he says, do you like this car? And he nodded his head. I said, I tell you what, you can take it away. No, you can't. Thus fooling that poor child into thinking that he would get the car to take home. Huh? Matt just texts in. who says Adrian Chiles looks miserable because he's from Birmingham. They are all miserable there. Just listen to the accent. Is that right? Do we have any Birmingham people with us today? Are you all miserable up there? I have to say, I was doing a job in Birmingham end of last year, the beginning of this year, at a place called Route 2, which is now closed. That does seem to happen to me quite a lot. I start working at places and then they close shortly afterwards. I don't know why that is. I was doing a karaoke night up there. And the whole place, it was on a Friday night actually, and this particular venue had died a long time ago, you know, and it was kind of kept going on just 2 nights a week. It's a shame. A great place to work it was as well, but unfortunately it's gone now. Are all people in Birmingham? He is so miserable, that Adrian Chiles, and the money he was paid, I wouldn't give him that. I wouldn't be wanting to headhunt someone like Adrian Chiles. Miserable git. Miserable as sin. His one-liners are fantastic, but the way he just sits there and looks at the camera and looks so unhappy, you know, like it was a real effort for him to be, and he was the same on the one show. It's nothing to do with the time of morning, I don't think. He just is naturally miserable. And what is it that has attracted him, or attracted people to get him onto that show? Christine, wonderful, friendly, sits there, and the two of them are sitting on the settee. I mean, they couldn't sit any closer. He's kind of leaning right into her, and it all looks a bit pervy, if you ask me. And we don't want to see that sort of thing first thing in the morning, please, while we're having our breakfasts. He is really sitting, leaning into her like that. It's just a bit too close for my liking, thank you very much. The news girl on there, she's quite good. Young girl, very pretty. She does the job all right. And the weather person and the sports guy. What was it he says about the sports guy? Oh, yeah, Adrian Chiles said about the sports guy yesterday. He said, of course, you used to do athletes. Used to be an athlete, didn't you? As you can see, he gave it up a long time ago. Which I found quite friendly. But I'll give it another couple of recordings and see if that will get better, that show. I'm sure it will. But Adrian Chiles, I could take him or leave him quite easily. I don't understand why he's worth all that money. I mean, if you're going to get paid all that money, you'd think you'd smile a little bit more, wouldn't you? Do you reckon I'd be any good at a breakfast show like that? I mean, I reckon I could smile all morning long, unless we come to sad bits, you know. Then I wouldn't smile. Obviously, you know, terrible tragedies like that, floods or whatever. You know, you can't smile while you're telling those stories, can you, lovey? No, you can't. So that's Daybreak. I have to say that the pair of them looked a little bit uncomfortable at first, but as the show went on, it got better and better. But similarly, as I was saying, you know, 20 minutes ago, it is like an hour's show that they sort of repeat the next hour and the next hour, because obviously at that time of the morning, people are coming and going all the time. Matt says, you were good at closing venues, dear. Think of the Penny Farthing, the Bridge, the Birdcage, the Golden Lion and Central Station. Was it ever opened? Do you know what? That is shocking. My friend Matt, who I've worked with before in many different venues, has just given me a list, and Harpo's has just given me a list of places that I've worked at and that are now closed. And I never, do you know, I didn't realise it was so many. But that is over a 20-year period. I want to point that out. And actually, Matt, I don't know if I ever told you, the first place I ever did DJing at was the Stag. One of the first places was the Stag in Battersea, a little family pub, and that is now an Indian tandoori takeaway. So if you're getting a little bit fed up of where you're working, boys and girls, employ me and I'll have your place closed down within a couple of weeks, all right? No worries there. Let me give you the email again, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. So that's Daybreak. ITV every morning at 6 AM. Actually, I think I might record the BBC breakfast time as well tomorrow, and see if that's changed at all. I haven't seen that for quite some time now. Other stuff I'm watching. I'm in love with Someone Again, boys and girls, off the television. You know, Cristiano Ronaldo is still in the frame. I've got to tell you that. If he comes round here, then he has still got a good chance with me. But there is another guy. The Gadget Show on Channel 5. Anyone watch the Gadget Show on Channel 5? There's a black guy on there, can't remember his name, and he keeps getting his top off, and it's all too much. Oh, God. Oh, it's gorgeous. What's his name? The black guy on Channel 5. Anyone know? Stunning. And the other day, he was on there, and he was on a surfboard. He obviously goes down the gym. Not a programme I'm really that fond of, to be. I'm only watching it because of him now. I've decided. There's a bald bloke with glasses and a woman on there, and they're just too chatty. I can't stand people that just chat on and on aimlessly for an hour or more. I really can't. It gets right on my nerves. But these two are just chatty all the way through it, and then they try and be funny, and it's not really funny. And they're really geeky, these two. The black guy is not geeky. He is just stunning. Really, I have to say, stunning. But those two come across as really geeky, the girl and the boy, and the bald bloke with the glasses. Don't know what their names are. So anyone seen him? Who's that bloke, the black guy on the Gadget Show, Channel 5? Do you watch that? My favourite Channel 5 show has got to be, and I think it's finishing up, The Hotel Inspector. Anyone seen that one? This is a show where this woman, who is very important in the hotel industry. I think she owns a big hotel or a chain of hotels, something like that, or works for someone there. She goes around hotels that are failing and advises them on what to do. And it's amazing, actually. You know, they get this person in, she gives them all this advice, and then they don't listen. I mean, it's so stupid. They've got hotels that are failing. And I think, over the shows that I watch, the biggest mistake hotel owners seem to make is personalising their hotels. People want to go to a hotel, they want to see clean walls, they want to see blank walls, I think, you know, maybe a couple of pictures on there. They want to see a clean bed with clean sheets on it. But they don't want any design. They don't want it made like Elvis or something like that. Very, very personalised. And that seems to me to be the biggest thing with these hotels. And she would go around and check that things have been cleaned and that things working. And some of these hotels were unbelievable. Really were. So that's my favourite programme on Channel 5. This has turned into a bit of a TV critic programme today, isn't it, eh? My favourite programme at the moment, of course, Coach Trip, is now back on. And it's on Channel 4 every day at 5:30. Last night's Coach Trip, they had gone to a place in Sweden, and they were walking around, and often they test the food in some of these countries, and they'd gone to and they get tasks to do. It's almost like an outside version of the Generation Game. And one of the tasks they had to do yesterday was fillet a mackerel. And these girls were trying to fillet this mackerel, and it was quite funny, actually. I don't think I'd ever want to do fish filleting or anything like that. And they also went to this other shop, which was selling fish-type stuff, you know, on ice. And one of the people in the party decided to have a look at one of the lobsters. Well, he picked this thing up, and the thing was still alive, and the pincers started going everywhere. How awful. Why don't the lobsters run away, then? They're kind of displayed in the fish cabinet in this shop in Sweden, right? There were all these dead fish by it, and there were these like 3 lobsters there. And he picked up the lobster, and it was alive. Why hasn't it run away? I don't understand that. Is it the ice that's kind of keeping them down? How awful. Do you actually buy the lobster? So if you wanted to buy that lobster, do you buy it and it's live and they give it to you and you get it home and it's still alive? I don't know if I like the idea of that. Or do they chop it? I know nothing about lobsters, you see. Nothing about lobsters at all. I don't like the idea of eating one and you have to crack something open to eat it. Oh, how vile. And it vile. Do you eat lobster? I'm not a great fan of fish food at all. I mean, I don't mind a few fish fingers. Or a bit of cod and chips, something like... Oh, rock and chips. Now, mind you, I had rock and chips the other day and it tasted disgusting. I think the fish was off, to be honest. It tasted really fishy. I don't think rock has tasted like that before to me. Really fishy. Quite like cod and chips or haddock and chips, something like that, you know. Battered haddock and... Oh, I love that. But what about lobsters? Can someone tell me that? How do these... When you buy a lobster, is it still alive? Or maybe it's still alive in other countries. Maybe you don't buy it alive here. If you go in somewhere like Sweden, they actually seem... Do they sell them alive? And if so, how do you get them home? Surely you can't just put them in a plastic carrier bag. The thing will eat through it, won't it? Or a paper carrier bag. You can't use a paper carrier bag because the lobster's going to be wet, isn't it? It just goes straight through the bottom. Do you remember those? Paper carrier bags, dear? Eh? Yes, weren't they wonderful? You'd have a shop... But these bags were quite strong, paper carrier bags. You'd have a shopping bag full of shopping. And you'd go, and it'd be raining. And all the shopping would fall straight through the bottom, wouldn't it? But not too bad for the environment. Paper carrier bags, unlike these plastic ones we've got now, that will be around for a million years, won't they, while they're trying to decompose into the ground. Paper carrier bags. So how do you get a lobster home? Do they give you some sort of special carrier thing? And then when you get it home, it's still alive. What do you do? Oh my God, I couldn't be killing anything, dear. I can't even kill a wasp. Although, got to be honest with you, let me just check there's no one listening, I hope, because there are people on this who are with us today who love moths. Now, the ongoing saga of the moths seems to have now finished. No more moths have been in my house now for about 2 weeks. The moths have flown. Well, a bit of a problem with moths this year. I kept finding 1 or 2 on the wall when I went to bed. And I'm afraid they take too long to catch them, so it's a Hoover job. Moth gone. Sorry, I have probably killed about 20 moths this year. Shock horror. Why don't butterflies come into the house? I mean, you wouldn't mind that, would you? On the wall in front of you, you know, a matrix of beautiful little butterflies with their lovely coloured wings on your wall. You wouldn't mind that, but moths are ugly things. And they look miserable. Moths look miserable, don't they? They're miserable colours. I think Adrian Chiles, presenter of Daybreak, was once a moth. He looked like one the other day. He looked there with that miserable pug face, you know, almost as miserable as Wayne Rooney looks, doesn't he? Wayne Rooney in the news at the moment. Yes, he's been sleeping with another hooker. Lucky old her. Now, you know, I don't judge people. I don't like to judge people, although if you're married, please, you know, it's a bit naughty really, isn't it? I'm talking about the hooker. I don't judge people for what they do. If you're going to do that, fine, I've got no problem with it. Do your job, take your money, go home. What I do object to is people like that who do the job, they do the job, right? I'm sorry about that. Matt, will you not use my text while I'm on air? Can you send an email? Because you send off all my alarms going all the time. It's at liberty, that is. Can you use the email, please? It's much quieter. Now, what was I saying? Oh, yes. I don't care what people do. Hooker, whatever. Right? But don't do the job. Take someone's money and then go running to the newspapers. I have no admiration for you at all. None at all. I think you're an awful woman. Awful. If you're going to do the job, fine. No problem with that at all. God, I mean, I work in bars and clubs. I see everything going on all the time. But I think it's just disgusting. When they do the job, they take the money, someone's money, and then they go running to the papers. Hello, I've got a story for you. That is just pathetic. It really is. I hate that. kiss and tell stories. Anything to get a little bit of money. Would you do anything for a bit of money? Is there, you know, anything that, you know, do you see what I mean? Would you do anything for money? Or are there limits? I don't know. I think there are limits to what I do. I really do. Like someone might say, would you go, do you know that Celebrity Jungle programme? Would you go down to the Celebrity Jungle programme if I paid you £1 million and eat those things that they have to eat, like cockroaches and all that? No, I would not. I absolutely. Would you do it for 10 million? No, I would not. There's certain things I wouldn't do. But I just hate all that kiss and tell stuff. Sell your body to someone, take the money, and then go to the papers and tell them all about it. It's not right. It's not right at all. It's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible people. Is Adrian Chiles a moth? I don't know. Matt says, yes, it is still live. Not locusts. What was I talking about? Lobsters. Locusts are still live in most countries, but generally frozen to keep it in a coma. Oh, I didn't know that. When you cook a lobster, it rapidly heats up and it dies quickly. They put oh, this is awful. Do you want to know this? Do you want to know this or not? I'm reading this as a text coming from Matt in London. Apparently they put elastic bands on the pincers to stop them snapping. If it defrosts in transit, so no special bags are required. But in South Africa, they cook them to order. What, well, there's still oh, it's awful. I don't want to see a lobster, dear. No, I can't be eating. Do you eat lobsters, Matt? Who eats lobsters? Let me know. The email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. So back to the coach trip that we were talking about. Coach Trip, one of my favourite programmes. One of the other things that they were to sample was a delicacy in Sweden, rotten herring. Literally, as it sounds, rotten herring. And this comes in a tin or a can. And they open the can and you could see the people on the coach trip and they were almost sick. Apparently the smell is absolutely disgusting of this rotten herring, and they sat there and ate that. Isn't that awful? Not my cup of tea at all. Alright, so coach trip on Channel 4 every day at 10:30 in the morning. Okie doke, boys and girls. Let's go on to some emails. Mark sent a story in. Hello, Mark. We read the email out on the last show. He's been watching the programme for a while now, and we've been talking about short stories, and I do enjoy short stories. Although I just have bought. I'll get over here. I have bought a book, boys and girls. I have bought the new Tony Blair book, and I must say he's looking rather old on the front of that. Oh, dear me. Enough put on some years, old Tony Blair. It's called A Journey, and it's about his journey to leadership and what happened, and I'm up to page 33 at the moment. Now, I've got to say, it does take me a long time to read a book, some months sometimes. I don't understand, how do people read books in a way? They like that Harry Potter book. You know, they buy it, 2 days later, they finish the entire book. I mean, that's some going, isn't it? But, unfortunately, I've got a very limited not lifespan. Oh my God, what am I saying? I've got a very limited attention span, I have to say, and I get bored with things quickly. Although I'm up to page 33, I'm not doing too bad at the moment. I just kind of read for 10 minutes in bed, and then that's it. That's all I read. So it will take me a long time to get through that, but I am liking it so far. That's Tony Blair's book called A Journey. Anyway, Mark has sent me in a short story that he wrote, which I'm going to read to you now. All right, thank you, Mark. Here it is. Lewis and Mark came round, and the four of us prepared the capture. The noise from the animal was intense, as our fear. With beads of sweat and shaking with anticipation, we took up our positions. I held a blanket blocking off the lounge door to stop the dangerous critter. I put on a thick jacket and scarf in case it jumped at me and tore my body or throat. Lewis took up his position on the bottom of the stairs with the mop at the ready to ward off any attack. Richie was taking up his position in the lounge with the first aid box and bowl of salt water, just in case. We all gave the nod to Mark, and he slowly made his way to the hiding site of the dreaded wild animal that was still hissing and sounding angry. Mark was armed with only a 6th metal pole and rolling pin. Carefully, Mark used the pole to push out the bags that the mammal was using as coverage. How this creature got into the carrier bag space we never knew. At this point, B, my boxer dog, got very agitated. We stopped and took the dog to the car in case he was ripped to pieces. Taking up our positions again and controlling the intense panic, Mark continued removing the bags in as quietly and slowly as he could so as not to make the wild animal attack. Silence fell. We braced ourselves for the coming onslaught. I saw Lewis swallow and crossed himself and looked up to the ceiling and whisper, "Help me, God." Richie behind made a murmur, but reassured us with the words, "It's okay, guys. I've got plenty of plasters." I was brave and closed my eyes. As the last bag tumbled to the floor from the makeshift den of the vicious intruder, it leapt forth. A gasp from us 4 intrepid knights moved into action. Mark jumped up on the kitchen work surface, ashen-faced. Richie fell to his knees with a thud. Then screamed and ran to the back door, and I closed my eyes, uttered the Lord's Prayer as a baby grey squirrel, no bigger than a mouse, shot across the wooden floor and ran out the front door. God, we're brave. Dragons slain by appointment. And he says, the above was based on the true story, honest. I love it, Mark. Well done, sir. We're loving your short stories. Send us another one if you want. Okay? I quite like to do that. I think I should have got into something like that, you know, reading sort of audio books or something like that. What do you reckon? Now, a little bit later on here on United Kingdom Radio at 1 o'clock UK time, Mike Cullen is now doing 2 shows a week. The second show, of course, being this afternoon at 1 o'clock UK time. That's exactly an hour after I finish. And in between that, you can hear a recording of... Let me have a quick look here. Let me get this right. What am I going to be playing you for now? There we are. Terry Turner and Travis Mitchell, who are with us on Friday nights at 8 o'clock. All right, so after I finish, you'll hear a recording of the most recent show from Terry and Travis. And then at 1 o'clock, live from Newcastle, it's the mouth of the Tyne, Mike Cullen. If you're wondering what Mike's shows are like, have a little listen to this.
Thursdays from 8 p.m. on United Kingdom Radio is the mouth of the Tyne. That's with me, your host, Mike Cullen. This is what we've been talking about so far.
I was quite impressed with the fact that you mentioned about this disabled kid going abroad to have sex with a prostitute. What was your thoughts on that?
Good on him, eh? Good on him.
Would you not feel the slightest bit of guilt, though?
What if I was disabled?
This is probably not politically correct to say this, but you know, they are standing there, sitting there, whatever, receiving taxpayers' money to go abroad to Amsterdam to engage in a sexual act with a prostitute. I mean, it's bad enough going to Amsterdam to know that you're going to have sex with a prostitute.
I know, it's unreal, isn't it?
Why has he been evicted?
Because he's only got 6 months left on his tenancy agreement.
If he's still got 6 months, he cannot be evicted.
Yeah, so he's got 6 months to go.
Not evicted. He will have to be rehoused in 6 months' time.
But they're not going to rehouse him, though. That's the thing.
They can't evict him unless he has his breached his tenancy agreement. They cannot evict him.
But that's what they're going to do, man. They're going to turf him out.
Oh, so they can't now because it's in the paper. So he's going to have loads of solicitors and things on his behalf.
Where in the United States are you at the moment?
Wait a minute. I gotta peek out the window first. Don't see anything there. Okay. Alright, the street's all clear. I always have to watch for, like, black vans with radio antennas before I answer questions like that. I'm up in the mountains, and we've already had our first snowfall. We're so high up here, the only time we're sober is on Christmas and Easter. Those are the 2 days we're required to be sober.
That sounds a bit like where I come from in the UK.
All that and more on the Mouth of the Time Thursdays on United Kingdom Radio from 8 p.m.
All right.
Across the UK and across the world. From the Mirrorball studio in Royal Berkshire, this is Chris Reardon.
And once again, Mike is also with us now on Tuesday afternoon, so that's an hour after I finish. Okay, between me and him, you'll hear the most recent show recorded from Terry and Travis, and Mike Cullen with the afternoon show at 1 o'clock this afternoon here on UnitedKingdomRadio.co.uk. Just coming up to 4 minutes to 12 now on Tuesday the 7th of September 2010. Also, if you ever miss any of our shows here on United Kingdom Radio, you might like to try out some of the other presenters. I'm sure some of them you like and some of them you'll dislike. No one likes everyone. You can find all the podcasts by going to UnitedKingdomRadio.co.uk, UnitedKingdomRadio.co.uk. You can find all my other podcasts going back almost 5 years now. There's a separate site for all my shows, and you can find that at UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. Now I was there's another email here. Lovely. Disco Matt is now using the email system. Thank you, Matt, because that jingle keeps going off on my phone. Who says, "Hello, Mr. Chris. Emailing is so slow." No, it's not. Come on, you should be used to typing things now. What with all those letters you sent out over the years? I still have yet. Well, I thought I might get one at one point, but it didn't come. Anyway, he says, "I forgot about Harpo's in Earls Court where you used to work. That's another one closed down, and plenty more too, actually. What about the one by Leicester Square? Oh yes, the Long Island Tea Shop, that closed. What's it called? It's a restaurant now. As is Harpo's, as is the Penny Farthing, yes, in Hammersmith. Although Central Station are trying to be a restaurant, but with the funny stuff going on downstairs, it can't be that savoury, can it?" Well, what goes on downstairs then? What goes on downstairs? I don't know what you're talking about there. He says, "Anyway, loved the slot on Adrian Chiles. I've never liked him either, and he definitely looks like a moth. How funny is that?" Well, he does. He's as miserable as sin. What has made him hot property on the television? I just don't get it. I really don't get it. He's as miserable as sin. And when he started going on about, how unhappy he was and all that, I mean, I thought to myself, well, surely no one is remotely interested in this. Anyway, there we are. He says, "As for Coach Trip, saw a repeat of that gay guy having a rant at the other one on the bus. Did you see it?" Yes, I did. And he used to go to Trades. You must recognise him. He used to go to a club called Trade, and he was seriously, I think he had some sort of mental condition there. Didn't look right at all what was going on there. My friend Ronnie knows him. He said, "Don't forget to save some space for our burger if we're doing it. Not say how central London is, but the news makes it sound a bit chaotic." Yes. And it is. I've already checked a couple of times so far the traffic in London, because we have a train strike in London today, and it is horrendous. So I'll keep an eye on that, Matt, and if it's all right with you, I'll ring later, and then we'll meet in London later. Okay, boys and girls, time for me to go. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget the email address to the show. Join me at any time by email. Send your emails in about anything we've spoken about. Tell me if you or not you like Adrian Chiles, for example, or tell me your thoughts on Daybreak, anything like that. Send them through. Chris us at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I'll see you again live here at unitedkingdomradio.co.uk on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock or Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock UK time. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye now.